Hi, everybody. It's good to see you, kinda. Even though I can't really see you, I'm going to pretend. And I wanted to share a video with you so we could kind of keep going like normal for math. You're probably wondering, how I'm doing. I'm fine. We're all fine. We are mostly just staying home because that's what we were told to do, and that's what's best for everybody to keep everybody else healthy and safe. So I will be back soon, but I wanted to share something with you so that you didn't have, however many days I'm going to be out. We're just kind of doing the same thing. I wanted to make something so that we could keep moving along and hopefully, you know, figure some things out together. So as you can see on your screen, I've got our, first word problem of the week. If they haven't yet, the teachers will pass those out and you can do those. So I'm going to pause for a second here. And when you are ready, I will kind of go through and do my solution. And you'll also have a chance to giggle and laugh and point at how well or maybe not so well I write with my mouse here on the computer, because it's not pretty, as you'll see coming up. So go ahead and pause this, and then when you're ready, unpause it, and I'll walk through my solution. Might be slightly different in terms of how I did it, but we should end up at the same destination. We should end up at the same solution. Okay, so good luck. Okay, so we have our problem here. Special Tees uses 4 feet of thread to embroider, which is like to, sew each Geneseo hat they make. The thread they use comes in spools that are 256 feet long. How many hats can Special Tees embroider from a single spool of thread? So our one hole, I'll choose blue because that's Geneseo colors, right? So if we want to kind of visualize this, you don't have to do it. And already you can see how good I am at drawing with my mouse here. But our one hole is one full spool of thread. And that is, and here we go with the writing part of it, that is 256. And I'm just going to use the abbreviation, that little mark up at the top. So 256 feet is our hole. And we are using that to make 4 feet, or each hat, which uses 4 feet. So we kind of visualize it. We're going to make a section that's 4 feet, and that's 4 feet, and that's 4 feet, and that's 4 feet, and so on and so on. Obviously, my picture isn't perfect here, but hopefully we get an idea of what's happening, and we can kind of see what operation we need to do. So what are we doing? We're taking this hole and splitting it into, smaller sections. We're dividing. So this is a division problem. So let's set up a division situation, I guess we'll call it here. So I'm going to take 256 and divide it by 4. And I'm going to do short division. If you were comfortable doing long division, that's totally fine. So I'm going to start with the largest place layout, which is the hundreds, but I can't make any groups of 4 in the hundreds. So I would bring these over and I can draw that, or I can just realize, you know what, I'm going to have 25 in the tens place. So I'm just going to kind of think of it as 25. So I've got my 25 right here. So how many groups of 4 can I make out of 25? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. I can make 6. So I'm going to write how many groups up here, right? 6 groups of 4 is 24. So I would get rid of those dots or circles, right? I would not want to use them again. So I'm going to take those away. I would have 1 dot left over. And again, I would bring that one over. So I'm actually doing pretty well here drawing with the mouse. I'm pretty proud of myself. So that means I've got 16 dots in the ones place. And again, I start the process over. So how many groups of 4 can I make out of 16? 4, 8, 12, 16. I can make 4. And I'm pretty sure that's not going to leave any extra thread in this case. Sorry, you can't see my 0 completely, but that's okay. So my answer would be 64, and then you have the line that you put it on, but it says how many hats. So this would be hats. Let me see if I can. I'll try to write the word hats. Let's see here. Pretty bad, but that's okay. I'm sure yours is more neat than mine. So we will collect those and we'll do another one tomorrow. And when you're ready, we're going to move on to the day's festivities. This is kind of like a smartboard file. It's not quite the same, but it does the trick. So let's do a little recap of what we've been doing here over not just the past few days, but the past few weeks. So we have a rectangle here. Looks like we're looking for the area. It says the area is, the unknown. That's the question mark. We know the length is 13 feet and the width, it says, is half the length. So again, pause this and pause this video and then take a few minutes to work through it, think it through, and see if you can find the area of this rectangle. Okay, so I know that the area of a rectangle is, again, here we go, trying to write with my mouse here, is length times width. So if I know the length and the width, I can find the area. That is not anything earth-shattering. Well, I know the length is 13, so I'll put that in. Try to make my equal sign here. Woof. And it says the width is half the length. Well, 13 is a odd number, so I don't think I could take half of that. Yes, I can. And this is what we're going to kind of talk about today, is how we can do it with division, whether it's short division or long division. But I am very confident that you can use common sense and logic and critical thinking, and problem solving, all those things to figure out what the width would be. If the width was 12, which is one less than this, obviously, the width would be half of that, so the width would be 6. Well, let me switch colors. If the length was one more than this, it'd be 14. So half of that, the width would be half of 14 is 7. So we are looking for what's in between that. Again, this is just one way to figure it out. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. But what's in between 12 and 14? Well, that's 13, obviously. So what's in between 6 and 7? Well, make a little arrow here. 6, try to make a decimal point. 6.5. So we have 6 and 5/10. So the width is 6 and 5/10. Let me clean this up a little bit just so it's not quite so messy. So we're going to multiply 13 times 6.5. And that is something that we are very capable of doing here in 5th grade. We can multiply 2-digit numbers that have a decimal point. So let me rewrite this. So this width, if I can make my decimal point, is 6.5. So first thing I want to do is estimate. So 13 is close to 10. I like my nice numbers that end in 0. So I'm going to choose 10 for my nice number. And then 6.5, I'm just going to think of it as 6. I'm just going to pretend that decimal isn't even there and everything after it. So my estimate will be 10 times 6. I can do that pretty efficiently. That's 60. Okay. So from there, you're going to multiply, like the decimal isn't there, right? So it'd be 65 times 13. And I'm not going to do all that because I don't want to make you watch me try to write with my my mouse to try to do all that work. That's just not a good use of your time or mine, to be honest with you. But I know you can do 65 times 13. And when you get your answer, you will put your decimal point back in where it belongs. So that is close to 60. Okay. So you have that to do. I'm going to do it on my calculator really quick because I should have done this to start, but that's okay. So I've got 13. Make sure I got 13 times 6.5, 6.5. So you should get an answer of, without the decimal point, you would get an answer of 845. But again, thinking about your estimate of 60, so I would put my decimal point after the 4, so it would be 0.5. And again, that pattern we talked about last time where there was one digit after the decimal in the factors, so there should be one digit after the decimal in the answer too. So, okay, let's move on to some division. So if you need to pause this, take a break. I know this is hard listening to me this whole time. We are going to move on and let's do a little bit of division review quickly. So again, pause this so you don't see my solution right away. And when you are ready, you can unpause it and I will walk through my solution. Again, you can do long division or short division. I'm going to do short division because that's what I think most of us are comfortable doing. All right, I will use red this time. So again, I'm going to start in the largest place value, hundreds. I can't make any groups of 4 out of 1. So I'm going to move that 1 over, or just think of it as 13, because I would have 13 in the tens place. So how many groups of 4 can I make out of 13? 4, 8, 12. I can make 3. So I would show that up here. I can make 3 groups. 3 groups of 4 is 12. And I'm going to not use those again, take them away. I would have 1 dot left over if I was making my dots. Okay, and I'm going to bring that one up. So I would have 14 dots left in the ones place. How many groups of 4 can I make out of 14? Again, 4, 8, 12. Sounds familiar. Another group of 3. And that would be, again, 12 more dots that I would have circled, so to speak. I get rid of those. I subtract them. So 14 minus 12 is 2. So I have 2 leftovers. So we call that a remainder. So we've got an answer of 33 and a remainder of 2. Hopefully you ended up in the same place I did. And I think you probably did because we are doing really well with division. Okay. So what we are doing today is we are going to take a look at how we can actually use short or long division to get an exact answer and not use remainders. So we've got this same problem, so we can kind of go through it a little bit quicker. So if you want to just watch or if you want to follow along on your whiteboard, that's up to you. But I can, I know I can make 3 groups of 4. That gave me the 12. So I subtract those. Oops, my subtraction sign didn't quite cooperate there. So I had 1 left over. I brought it up, and that gave me 14. I can make another group of, 3 more groups of 4, and I had 12 dots that I circled, and that left me with the 2 leftovers. And this is where we stop because there's nothing else really there to do. Or is there? So this is the example I like to kind of remind students of, and I'll switch to green because we're talking money. This is how much money? $6. Right, yeah. This is how much money? Whoa, there's a fun dollar sign. There's a decimal point of promises there. I'm going to try to draw a couple zeros. Well, how much money is that? It's also $6. So we don't write these zeros in the decimal point because we don't need them, right? We don't, if we had to write every zero, we'd just be here forever writing zeros. But they're always there. Well, guess what? There is a decimal point and some zeros here, and they've always been there. We just don't write them because we haven't needed them. When we're talking whole numbers, we don't write the decimal points very often. So we are going to, let me clean this up here, but we are going to remind ourselves, oh yeah, there is a decimal point. There are some zeros there that maybe we can use. And the cool thing is we don't have to do anything different. Everything that we know how to do, we can do. Maybe I'll just, I'll extend this a little bit so it doesn't look like it's kind of floating off in midair. But I can keep going. So I've got a 2 that I had 2 dots left over. And if I had my HCO chart, I could just draw another column and draw 20 more dots. I should have given myself a little more room here. I'll squeeze in a 2. Not as messy or not as neat as it should be. It's a little too messy, but I trust you'll go with it here. Now, what I should remember is I am going into the decimal points. Or decimal places, not decimal points. So we need to remind ourselves that our answers should be in the decimal places also, because we have like 3 in the tens place, we have 3 in the ones place, Well, our next answer, our next part of our answer, I should say, is going to be in the 10th place. So we should put a decimal point up here to show we are moving into the 10th place. Okay, so I would have 20 dots, 20 lines drawn if I was making this in the chart. So I can do the same thing that I've been doing. If you're doing long division, you would just take this 0 and bring it down, right? You wouldn't, do anything different. There's just a 0 you can bring down now. So either way, I would have 20 up here if I'm doing short division. You'd have 20 down here if you're doing long division. But either way, I'm making groups of 4 out of 20. How many groups of 4 can I make out of 20? 5. And that is going to work out quite nicely because I will have no leftovers. I will have circled all 20 of my dots, if you will, and not had any leftovers. So when we get no more leftovers, no more remainders, we are happy, hence the smiley face. So we can now go into our decimal places, our tenths, sometimes our hundredths. Okay, in 5th grade, that's really where about we will end. We will not have to keep going and going and going and going. That is not an expectation for us in 5th grade. Kinda. That's what we have calculators for, to be honest. Okay, but we know that there are decimal places. There's the 10th place, there's the 100th place, and so on. So we can use those to now get an exact answer and not leave our answers as a remainder. Okay, so let's look at another one. We have 288 divided by 5. So take a second and get that on your whiteboard if you need to wipe off your old one. And if you want to pause this and kind of do this on your own, you can decide that as a class, but I'm going to walk through my solution in a minute here. So pause it so I don't give it away too soon. Okay, and then I'm going to switch colors here. I'll go to blue, go back to blue for Geneseo. So again, I'm making groups of 5. Can't make any groups of 5 out of 2 if I'm in the hundreds place. So I would bring that 2 over and I would have 28. So I'm going to think of how many groups of 5 can I make out of 28? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. That was 5. Okay, so again, I would circle 25. Hopefully, maybe you're writing your multiples along the side too. Again, I don't want to sit here and make you watch me write all my multiples with a mouse. That would not be pretty. But I would have 25 circled. That would leave me with 3 leftovers. And I bring those leftovers over, right? Or if you're doing long division, you bring the 8 down. Either way, you're going to end up with 38. I'll kind of squeeze it in there. And again, how many groups of 5 can I make out of 38? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. 40 is too high, so that was 8. So 7 groups of 5. Sorry. So I'm going to put 7 as how many groups? That means I had 35 that I would be circling. And I subtract them, and then I would have 3 left over. 38 minus 35 is 3. Well, normally I would have stopped here, and that's a remainder, but I now know, or at least reminded myself, oh yeah, there is another place over here that I can keep going to. So I'm going to remind myself I can go into the tenths. There's been a 0 there the whole time. Now I'm going to need it, so I'm going to draw it. I also want to remember to make my decimal point in my answer because that is reminding me that my answer, I have 5 10s, I have 7 1s. Now my next one will be in the 10ths place. So that reminds me, the decimal point does, that we are in the 10th place. So I'm going to bring another 3 up, or if you're doing long division, bring that 0 down. And either way, you're going to have 30. And how many groups of 5 can I make out of 30? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I can make 6. And again, good news, we're not going to have any leftovers because that worked out nice and neatly with no extras. And then when I have this nice remainder of 0, I will be officially done. So 288 divided by 5 would be 57.6, 57 6 tenths. Okay, nothing new we have to learn. That's the cool thing about this. Whether you do long division or short division, you just have to remind yourself, oh yeah, there is another place next to this whole number that I had. I can go into the tenths and maybe into the hundredths. Okay. So with the time that you have left, hopefully you haven't gotten sick of me talking. I've put a few up here for you to try. So I've got A and B that I have those are pretty standard fifth grade problems. This challenge of 61 divided by 8, that's a little more, as you will see if you try it. That's a little more maybe than we'll probably need to do. And then the wait, I thought math was supposed to be fun challenge. Don't say I didn't warn you. If you want to try it, don't be mad at me if you try it later, okay? Because you might not like it after you try it. You can check your answers on calculators for this, or don't use the INT division. Now you can just use your regular division button. It will give you your answer in decimal. Thank you so much for keeping things going, keeping things rolling while I'm not there. I really do miss everybody, and I hope to see you all soon. Good luck and have fun dividing.